deal, wasn't it?
It would be really great, Kate, if you asked your friends or whoever is coming to watch if they could find it,
Yeah,
what we're doing while we're talking.
yeah.
See if they can find us.
I mean, I posted on X and Instagram. I kind of figured for us, this is a good learning experience. I've never streamed live.
I've
Have
never
you?
streamed live
Okay.
ever in my life.
Yeah.
And
And
today, with Friday the 13th, it has been really scary thing.
I got that text from AT&T and T, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So when you
Right
said Planet
today.
13th, I thought that was funny.
You know, I was afraid when we were scheduled to do this conversation. And by the way, can we record this?
It From what I understand, it automatically records.
Okay,
So,
great.
we're
And
good.
then we can also repost it for in case people can't find it.
Yeah.
Because I just noticed there's a new feature on my account that it just automatically set to private. So I have to every time I post a video. So then I have to go and change the setting to public. So
Okay.
I was just kind of a little bit afraid that this
Yeah.
may be the case here because I see nobody's watching. So I'm wondering. But
I know.
anyway, let's
Hey,
talk about
between
our stuff.
friends.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
So let's go on with this amazing topic both of us really loved and decided to make a thing out of it, right?
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
very, yeah, it's a very musical topic. And why don't you introduce it?
well, it came across one of our phone conversations. We were talking about composers and their partners that support them behind the scenes. So we thought it would be an interesting idea for Valentine's Day to kind of support the people behind the genius behind Chopin, which is George Sand, his partner. And for time constraints, we also chose Mozart and his wife Constanza.
I think they're really great women to talk about because, first of all, they were very significant in these composers' life. They literally created a parenthesis between themselves and the composer within the creativity and the creation that these composers left us.
Yeah.
Also, they are so very different. And I was thinking, let's talk about Costanza first because, she was there. Constanze, right? Weber. So Constanze Weber was Mozart's wife for, I think they were married for 9 years until the composer's death. And um, by all accounts, this was a very good marriage for Mozart. He was very in love. They were very much in love with one another, even though life was not very easy for them. We know about the six children they had together, and only two of them
Mm.
survived. A lot of funerals, to organize there. It's really heart wrenching, even though this wasn't uncommon back in the 18th century, right?
Her grief, to lose a child, both of their grief.
I read somewhere that um, Mozart was writing to his father, we lost another, our beautiful fat boy has died, and we're both suffering terribly.
Hmm.
And it was just such even in this instance, Mozart keeps his humor that he could never get rid of, calling him the beautiful fat boy. It's just so endearing. And I kind of get that from the letters. That's how he was referring to his wife also in a very peculiar, loving way. For example, he described his wife, Constanza, to his father just like that. Oh, she has just two small black eyes and a very good figure. She is no beauty, definitely not a beauty, but not ugly. I mean,
And
this is
and
it's a base.
didn't Mozart's father not approve of Constanza at first?
No, They did not approve. I mean, Mozart's father was very much um, a person, a very ambitious person. You know, he was, of course, a stage father to Mozart. You know,
Mm.
he groomed him from a younger age. He did dedicate his life to Mozart, to educating Mozart. He was a very good educator, and he would teach not just music, but all the other subjects, by the way. He taught his Mozart and his daughter, Mariana, which was a beauty, by the way, gorgeous. Actually, the entire family was beautiful. His father was very good looking. His mother was a beauty. His sister was a beauty. They're all tall, beautiful,
Yeah.
blonde, except for Mozart, who just wasn't, it, almost like he came from somewhere else, you know, cosmic child. You know, I like to call these people cosmic children. You know, they
Yeah.
just given us gifts from God. You know, they
And
just
his
fall
sister
upon
was
you.
also a really talented musician.
Very talented. So here's, let's go back to the marriage thing. So Mozart's father intended for Mozart to marry very well, to marry into aristocracy. He considered that his children deserve really good, you know, partners in life and well, financially well established. And he was not wrong, because he was, you know, Mozart was not that good with money. He was very childish. He never had time to actually learn how to spend money, and we know that, right? But you know, he insisted on Mozart marrying well. His his daughter Mariana married. Oh, I think she married a diplomat, and they had a bunch of children. And you know, it was very hard for her to continue her career, especially back then, being a woman composer. You know, but she did teach a lot, and until the end of her days, she practiced 3 hours a day. But unfortunately, she was never published. Her compositions are lost. You know, so she did have that good marriage, but nothing else. You know, she did have the security, the financial security, but her music career was gone. So Mozart, however, he was the rebellious child. He tried to break away from his father, first by literally quitting his job in Salzburg as a Kapellmeister. His father had to endure horrible words, angry words from Mozart's employer. So you have a horrible son. Look how he behaves. He's rebellious. He's no good at all. He thinks he can do whatever he wants. You know, he's irresponsible. And Mozart's father, Leopold, of course, had to apologize and please forgive him. You know, it's my fault. I This part is actually played in Amadeus, if you remember. That was
Mhm.
actually true. That was absolutely 100% true.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So Mozart broke away, went to Vienna, fell in love with Vienna for some reason. I don't know why. Salzburg is much prettier. But I just think that he just wanted to go away from his home. I mean, he just wanted to break away. He wanted freedom. And at first, he fell in love. He was introduced to the Weber family, which, you know, it's a very famous last name, if you know. Maria Karl von Weber was a very famous composer. So actually, Mozart's wife is his cousin, I think, or his niece. I'm not exactly sure about it. But anyway, he was introduced to the family and started pursuing Constanze's older sister, Aloisa, which, I mean, she was extremely beautiful, and but very proud by all accounts, by how Mozart described her. And he pursued her for a year. And the mother was extremely protective. She was trying to protect her daughters. She didn't know Mozart, and she was very apprehensive at first. But unlike the movie, she was not against him. She actually helped them get married and helped them get started once they got married, right? Oh,
Okay.
and I'm talking now, I'm jumping to Constanza. But anyway, I just want to say something. I've researched this a lot. Somebody talked about Mozart's incestual relationship with his future wife's sister, Aloisa. He never had any relationship with her. He pursued her, but he was rebuffed, constantly rebuffed. There was never a serious dating relationship. Then later he got to know, for some reason, this family was just, he loved the family. He got to know Constanza more and more. At first, she was very shy. And actually, Mozart even called her not very witty, but
Oh,
good material for a wife.
and
It's very
she's a
interesting.
singer. She was a singer.
She was a singer, and poor woman, and we'll talk about her career later on. She never got to sing. But anyway, he married her and he wrote to his father, "Oh, I have to marry her because I went too far with her," which shows his honesty,
Integrity. Yeah.
integrity and honesty and
Hmm.
everything. And he was also very much in love with her. There was no doubt. And he knew Constanza loved him very deeply with her entire heart. So basically, that's how this thing happened. So he never, just to make a clean break here, he never had a relationship with anyone else in that family. So this is just, there's no evidence of that at all. And whatever we have in his letters, he was writing a lot, Mozart, a lot of letters. There's definitely proof that nothing happened. Yeah, it
I
was
think
more.
it's I think it's heartwarming to read how he went against his father's wishes and chose love over money, chose love over an easy life. I mean,
Oh,
when
you
you
know what? Somebody left us a very interesting message. He said Mozart had no kids. He had only fetishes. I just think that I'm sorry, I just had to read this. Uh, I'm
but
sorry. I don't know which Mozart you're talking about, at Adrian, Adam, whatever. But this is
so
not the Mozart, the genius we're talking about, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He had 6 children. Him and his wife, Constanza, had 6 children. Would you like to know their names? I can email them to you. Um,
it could
he did
be the whole lick mich die. I don't even know how to say it in German. Something about pretty much a butt joke. It could
Well,
be the letters too.
Mozart Mozart did have a very peculiar sense of humor,
Yeah.
a very childish, almost like his sense of humor never grew up. It was
I mean,
stuck in adolescence, But he was a very serious father. He would,
and a
you know,
serious
his
composer.
he had 2 surviving sons that lived to be, I think, around 60. One of them um, tried to make it as a piano dealer, right? Because they both composed music at first. They both attended and took music classes from Salieri, by the way. Constanza took both of them to Salieri to take piano lessons. So basically, again, that completely discredits the story about Salieri killing Mozart, even though it makes a very good movie. But
Yeah.
Salieri was a very good teacher. He may not have been a fantastic composer, but he was a fantastic teacher. And he taught both of Mozart's kids. He also taught Liszt, another
Wow.
very, very famous name there, right? He lived
Yeah.
a long life and was a very good uh, court composer, preferred court composer. I guess he was very much on time, met all the deadlines, unlike Mozart, who had so many things that he wouldn't have time. But anyway, yeah.
How do you think Constanza helped Mozart? I mean, as far as keeping the household, you said he knew she was going to be a good wife. She took care of the kids so he could write the music. And after he died, his legacy, we can thank her. Am I right?
It's amazing. Nobody expected her to be such a great partner because this young little girl who was not witty, like just Mozart says, she was calm, she was placid, she was a little silly, childish, protected by her mother, but she
So on my end, I have a little freeze here.
Anyway, I don't know what happened here. Kate, where are you? I don't know what happened. But anyway, let me finish the topic of Mozart at least, and then we can figure out what to do with how we can stream together. Um, so basically, this young girl, Constanza Mozart, nobody expected her to do the great things she did for her husband, Mozart. After his death, um, she was, first of all, extremely upset and, of course, suffering a terrible loss. They couldn't even get her to stand up and go and, to the funeral. It was just the doctors were worried that she might do something to herself. She was in so much emotional pain. But once Constanze, got over the loss of Mozart and um, are you there? What
Yes.
happened?
Oh my goodness.
Is your
I
internet
mean,
again acting?
I think so. They're working on it, and I apologize. I
That's okay.
froze.
So let me tell you, we were continuing from this. Yes, what is it?
Okay.
Did you want to ask
No.
something? Okay. So basically, I was talking about, this girl that nobody expected much
Yes.
from, she ended up, after Mozart's death, she was extremely heartbroken. Everybody was worried that she may do something to herself. She was not even well enough to go to the funeral.
Oh,
Um,
so
it
sad.
was just a tragedy. But first of all, Mozart died a very painful, long death. He started becoming unwell, I think a few weeks or a few months before, like in and out, and then slowly deteriorating. He even wrote a letter in which he predicted his own death. 3 months before he died, he wrote to a friend of his saying, you know, let me try to, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he said, since since I was a child, I was always thinking about death. And I think it's coming. I feel that my life drifts away every day
Wow.
from me. Just my life just goes out of me. And he also said something like, I'm so thankful that God gave me such a great gift to enjoy
Oh,
it. And I
wow.
really enjoyed it. So this is a very deep person in spite of his, whatever you guys saying, fetishes. Somebody left a comment
Yeah.
there. I think that didn't go any further than words. Mozart was extremely lovable. He loved women since he was a child. His father was always worried that because he was always falling hard in love hard, and his father was trying to keep him, concentrate, don't lose yourself. And I understand that, right? But
Yeah.
he was not the person that they try to make him. He did make really bad jokes, though.
Yeah. Sometimes people who work really hard, we see that in certain CEOs that leave some immature humor online. I won't say names, but major billionaires. Sometimes
Yes,
the
that's good
immature
to
humor,
connect.
I was going to say, sometimes the immature humor is just a quick way to release stress relief. Laughter is a good medicine. I mean,
I think
and
so too,
these were
because
private letters. These were private
yes,
letters. It's not
yes.
like he was publishing this for. We published it later, but it's
Yeah, I mean,
not like he was writing this publicly.
that's what eventually all these musicians and writers that constantly that explored these letters and life of Mozart, they all came to the same conclusion: these were just jokes, which
Mhm.
his very close friends found endearing. But Mozart was, as a person, was a very serious person. He wanted to be normal more than anything. He wanted to have a good wife. And he described, of course, he wanted his father to accept her. So he described her as being a very good wife material because she has a very good, she can run a household, she's good with money, which is great. It just shows that he knew what he wanted, he knew what he needed.
She
These
had
are
a
things.
she had an appreciation of music and knew his genius and
She was
supported
very
that.
talented, and I think you like that part, Kate, because you are a singer. uh, she was a singer, a professional singer. She, of course, did not get to sing, poor thing, until after Mozart's death,
Mm.
because she was constantly pregnant, or raising a young child, or recovering from birth, or recovering from.
Yeah. Uh, you froze again on my end.
Are having a hard time here. We're becoming
Yeah, I'm
interrupted.
not sure with all the technical difficulties, but this is a great conversation, and we can just keep going as try to deal with the hiccups of Friday the 13th. What do you say, Anna?
I think we should just go through it, just
Just
fight
keep
it,
going. I
just keep
think from
going.
what like I said, it's new to me too. I think it's still posted to YouTube, and it's just a conversation between friends, so we will figure this out as we go.
That's great. And would you like to talk about this other great woman partner? Um,
Yeah, for Chopin?
Chopin's partner, the famous George Sand. Now, for
Yes.
those of you who are listening and getting confused about George Sand, she was a woman writer, a very famous
Yes.
19th century woman writer. And would you like to tell me what was so special about her, Kate? Would you like to?
So, from what I was reading about George Sand is she was a divorced mother of two, and think 1836 Paris, France. Um, she did like political writings, she did literary criticism, she wrote books. She was well respected as a writer, as an author, but she would dress in men's clothing. I think she felt she would be taken more seriously, and I I found that interesting. But in 1836, she asked a mutual friend, which you've already mentioned, Franz Liszt, to introduce her to Chopin. And from my studies and what I read, when he first met her, he was dismissive, even said something along the lines, is that even a, to paraphrase, is that even a woman? What it, you know?
I know. It's so funny that both of these composers share the same thing. Mozart didn't think his wife was beautiful.
Yeah.
He said she's far from beautiful.
Oh my
And
goodness.
Chopin didn't think George Sand is even a woman. I mean, think
Yeah.
about that. But both of them became completely enamored of these people, and in relationship,
Yeah.
ended up in very serious relationships with these people.
Yeah, and again, this is my interpretation of what I read based on facts that people have collected through the years, music history. But I kind of looked at Mozart and Constanza as a very happy marriage. Like they had so many kids. Um, Unfortunately, many didn't survive, but um, and the fact that she respected him so much to maintain his legacy after
Yeah.
his death. I think they must have, from my perspective, they must have had a relatively happy marriage. No marriage is always happy, it's ups and downs, but I feel like they were good partnership. She was supportive, and there was actual love there. Love with integrity, where even her father or his father, none of that mattered. None of that. He's like, "Psh, from what you told me about his personality, he's like, I'm marrying her, whether you like it or not, you know? I think
Oh,
that's a really
his
endearing
father,
quality.
his father, and this is true in Amadeus as well. Even though I hate connecting a true story with an artistic movie, I am not that person, and I rarely make references. But for some reason, just today, just kind of feels like it's part of the flow. He did come to Vienna. I mean, he did try to convince Mozart to, I mean, to not get married because there's he was afraid that he will take a financial burden on himself, which partially was true, that he won't be able, to save any money. He will be just ruined financially. uh, he was not a fan of that person, of Constanza, at
Mm.
all. He did not. Now there is contradictive opinions on whether, or fact, whether he actually came to Vienna to break their marriage. I don't think that's what
Oh,
happened. I think that he was not willing to come to the marriage, when they got married, but he did not come to break the marriage and convince the son to leave his wife. He literally came to see how things are going. And
wow.
he never got along with Constance. He was always extremely cold towards Mozart's wife, no matter what. He never warmed up towards her.
What
Um,
if, and this is speculation because I haven't read this, but I'm just like, what if he always managed Mozart's career prior to that and he really expected a lot out of him as a child? What if he was almost in a sense like, maybe not jealous is the word, but that someone else was important in his life, had this role that had a big
Jealousy, that he
say.
belongs to him. Yes, I
Yeah,
think
something
this
like
is
that, possessiveness.
the possessiveness was there for sure because he was kind and gentle to Mozart when he was young. He did again a fantastic teaching, and we can hear that in his music, Mozart's
Mhm.
music. But um, as Mozart grew, he tried to tighten the belt, to try to tighten the reins of Mozart because he knew his son. He was a little crazy, boundless energy, you know. Um,
Channeled into music.
yeah. However, and he became actually extremely rude. He wrote him very rude letters and telling him that you're no good for nothing, you're not serious, you're lazy. How can Mozart have been lazy? He wrote more music than probably any other composer in
Is
his short
was
life.
that supposed to motivate him in some weird
No, it was
way?
supposed to keep him. Maybe I'm not good enough to think too much of myself.
Mm.
I mean, it was really, and the most amazing thing is the Mozart never replied with the same anger, which
Mm.
shows that
Again,
he loved his father deeply, and he was extremely distraught later when his Mozart died and missed him terribly.
yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? One terrible thing his father did. He disowned him, took him out of his will when he got married. And because of that, when his father died, him and Mozart and his sister had a big row about the inheritance. And he could have used some money, He was going through
Yeah.
a lot of hardship in Vienna with diseases and his wife being sick. And he was never helped by his family. And he stopped talking to his sister. They never mended their relationships until
Oh, that's terrible.
forever.
I
That
didn't
is the
realize
hardest
that.
thing. That is,
But we are still talking about Mozart and his music today. He's still revered. He is still known
oh,
as,
one of the
so
greatest.
right.
Now let's talk a little bit about the George Sand because she's a fascinating person. You brought a very good point that she was extremely, she wanted to be perceived seriously, and that's why
Mhm.
she changed her last name, took a man's name. She would also dress like a man, so she
Yeah.
really took on this personality. But you know what I think? Well, first of all, technically, why did she do that, do you think? What was happening in 19th century to women?
Women. women's rights. I mean, she really wanted to feel, um, because she was a divorced mother of two, I think she wanted her career to also be a statement, and she wanted to be seen other than a caretaker for Chopin. I
Yes,
think she resented that caretaker
this is her personal thing, but it goes more serious than that.
for
In the
her
ni-
writing persona.
in the 19th century, a woman, this was a writer was considered a male profession. So a woman could not sign, could not put the authorship as a woman. She had to hide behind a male, like a brother or a father. So she said, "You know what? I'll be a man then. I'll be totally a man. So these are my pieces. My name will be there." So she took basically a pen name, but she
Mhm.
took it. She made a mocker of it, like, "Oh, you want me to be a man? I'll be a man." You
Yeah.
know,
Sounds like a
I'll
strong
really
personality, doesn't it?
very strong. Also, don't forget the Matilda factor, right? Which plays a lot. She wanted to break into, owning what she wrote. Like you heard about Matilda factor, right? When
Mm-mm.
women, oh, that is just a very strong, like when women in the 19th century and even 18th century, I don't know exactly when the Matilda factor came in play, but if you Google it, you'll see it's amazing.
I
When
will.
women, yeah, women were, and the first one was the name was Matilda, the woman that basically got, she could not own her work basically
Could you
because she was a
imagine?
woman. I-
Or
It's
even with
incredible. Like
Constanza,
somebody
could you
else would,
imagine
yeah.
wanting to be a singer and not being able to sing? I
Well, but
just
it was a different, she didn't need that. George Sand was a different type of woman. She wanted to
yeah,
own her
I did
work.
put that together. I
Yeah,
think
you
they're
did.
totally different types of relationships even.
I think Constanza never needed to be in the public's eye. She was very happy
Mm-mm.
to be behind her
I thought
husband
that too.
and help him. She was there for him, and she was very happy. She had
And
enough. Yeah.
I do believe that that was, quote, "true love," unquote, with Constanza and Mozart. I question, and this is my opinion, it doesn't have to be everybody's, but I question George Sand and Chopin. It seemed a little, um, every article I read, every, um, whether it was opinion or if it was like just talking about his preludes that he wrote when they went to Spain, she resented, from what I gathered and my interpretation of it, is that she kind of resented being Chopin's seen as Chopin's caretaker, almost like a caretaker romance where,
I don't think she
um,
wanted to be seen as that. I think, can I add to that what you said?
absolutely.
The relationship between Frederick Chopin, the composer, and the writer, George Sand, was the relationship between two people that were very unhappy.
I
In
think so.
She was unhappy that, I mean, she assumed that completely different persona to be able to stand behind her work and own her own work. And she was a very prolific writer. She wrote many books before and after Chopin,
Mhm.
Uh, she lived a very full life and she fought for everything she ever did. She fought her way through anything. Chopin was unhappy because he was forced to leave his Poland,
Poland.
his native Poland, which he loved so much, and live in Paris as a refugee, permanent refugee, because he was never allowed to go back to Poland. If he were to return, he'd have been arrested. I don't know. It's a big mess there. It's a different
And
conversation. So he was forced.
tuberculosis. I
Well,
mean,
I think eventually he got sick because of his constant unhappiness. And we know all the diseases in a way from nerves, so his nerves were not calm about having to live in a place he didn't want to be,
mhm.
having to associate and missing his people, his friends, his family.
Even when George Sand, um, and Chopin went to Mallorca, Spain, and it was supposed to be this getaway for him to get well. When I read in depth, I was like, not only was the humidity, like it was very damp, which is terrible for your lungs and ventilation in general when you have
You
something
know
like
me with the humidity.
tuberculosis.
I can't stand humidity even thinking about it. Go
Yeah,
on.
and then they were in this monastery that was very damp, and I kept thinking when I was reading, I was like, "There's probably mold. There's probably mold."
There
I
was
mean, if you think,
probably, and they did. Don't forget that. I'm sure the medicine was not as bad as it was earlier on, like in the 18th century, but 19th century Europe. I mean,
yeah,
medicine and what they could do for tuberculosis, not much. A lot of people
yeah.
died of tuberculosis, by the way. It was not just him.
And the people became hostile, the locals, because they thought that he was contagious, and
Oh
which
my
he
God.
probably really was. And there were rumors that he was coughing up blood. And so not only did they
Oh
have a
my
damp
God. I didn't know that.
environment that is terrible for tuberculosis, he they experienced hostility from locals. Um, he started coughing up blood, and it just didn't sound like it ended up being the getaway to Spain that they had
And they
hoped.
fought a lot, I'm sure. They
Yeah.
always fought.
But he did write the 24 preludes there. He wrote Raindrop Prelude, one of my favorites. It's a very famous one.
Yeah. You
So,
love it's your favorite composer.
yeah, he is one of mine. Yes. Um, but he was still, that's the juxtaposition of reading about Chopin, as he seemed so introspective. And I mean, we like to say he was unhappy and sick, and but sometimes some people are just really,
I'm sure
I
he
don't know, but
had
then we see
happy
playful
moments.
sides of him with other
I'm
pieces. So,
sure he had wonderful moments. And you know what? I wonder, it's a good point. I wonder if his unhappiness came from the fact that he was sickly, you know?
yeah.
He
Oh,
maybe
your
the
physicality
environment was
definitely affects your mental and
I mean,
emotional
first of
well-being.
all, having to flee your country from being arrested and persecuted, um, that would do it for you. That would make you sick. That would make anybody sick, right? And then having maybe the climate wasn't exactly right for him. I know a lot of, and this is a parenthesis, a lot of immigrants that move to a different country and they get sick from the climate, the food, the
The
water.
food, I've definitely seen that with some of my colleagues, like the food.
It's just, it's a big stress on the body,
Mhm.
right? So I'm pretty sure that he probably was never very healthy to begin with, you know? And this didn't help, and the stress didn't help, it's just it's amazing that such a person like Chopin, who was extremely shy about performing and insecure, he had childhood insecurities and nerves to perform live, which is actually consistent with the education in Eastern Europe.
Really?
Yes, there's something about asking a pianist from Eastern Europe who was educated in Eastern Europe to perform on the piano. It's just they take it as such a serious thing, oh my God, I don't know if I can do it perfectly because the perfection is expected of you. So maybe that was why he wasn't really fan of performing. He was very
Mhm.
afraid. He only had a few performances his entire life, and he went into teaching a lot because he felt secure there. I'm going to sit and teach and help others, learn to play the piano and perform. And George Sand was the counter of all of that. She was boisterous. In a way, she was, how do you say it? Give me that word. Very
Um,
confident
yeah,
about
I was gonna say
herself.
she was a very strong personality, and he was very sick and seemed seemed weak from
Yeah.
what I've read. Just I'm sure he wasn't a weak personality per se, but um, I'm sure she got her say more often than
I
than
am
he
pretty
did.
sure of that. But that I think despite of all these good features, the relationship deteriorated. It was always complex, always. And
Okay.
remember, we talked about the love story. Like, if we compare her relationship, their relationship, Chopin and George Sand, and Mozart and Constanza, what did one couple have that the other didn't? Do you think?
In my opinion, I think there was real love and mutual respect with Constanza and Mozart. And with Sand and Chopin, it was a caretaking type of romance. So he could do his art, she could be inspired by him with her books, which one book I read um, was inspired by Chopin about an Eastern European prince, and he took offense to that, thinking that she was using him for her writing and stuff. But something I noticed right away is she brought two kids into their relationship. They never lived together. Her son did not like, oh no, her son did not like Chopin, and her daughter Solange. That's, as a mother of a daughter, I don't understand how she seemed really tough on her daughter and jealous that Solange and Chopin seemed to hit it off. Like, you'd think in a healthy relationship you'd really like that. She seemed threatened or something. It was really odd to me to read that. That sounded very
That's,
toxic.
but what does that tell you, Kate, about if she was so insecure in this relationship? It means she didn't feel loved.
Yeah. But your own daughter?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
this is just this. I feel that this is just like an effect. It's a natural effect from the fact that she was not happy with Chopin. Had she been happy with Chopin, would she feel jealous, or at least feel the need to be jealous on her
That's a
own
good
daughter?
point, music cue. Toxic people are usually jealous of non-toxic people.
That
Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah, that's a good. Whoever said that, it's a genius. I think it's
Yeah.
wonderful. I just love when people give you such good points.
Yeah. And again, I go back to like Solange and Chopin got along. You'd think you would be happy. Oh, my partner
It's
enjoys my
good to
daughter,
my
but
kids. It's good to my kids. I mean,
right,
who wouldn't want that?
right. Um, and then she ended it in a letter, like 9 years together, ended it in a letter, and he died like, I think 2 years,
She
not even
met
two
him one
years.
time before, like 9 months before he died. And she was saying, and it's so funny how they both give different accounts of how that meeting went. And it just shows, I mean, one of them must not be telling the truth.
Yeah.
But you can't really call them liars. I mean, Chopin said that he approached her and shook her hand and asked about Solange. Have you heard of you from your daughter Solange? He went straight to the fact because he knew she was pregnant. Did you know she had a baby? So
Did she know that her daughter had a baby?
and I don't know whether she knew or not, but Chopin wanted to, he was clearly worried about the family falling apart like that.
Yeah.
So it's very good point that he made. He didn't ask,
In
anything.
opposition, she, from what I read, she said their last meeting, she shook his icy,
Cold
cold,
hand.
tiny hand or something, like kind of like a put down, right?
I'm telling you, she was mad at him.
She
Eh,
was. And then this is what was telling for me. I even jotted a note about a book, Don Quixote. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm going to make a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
connection
Go
here.
ahead.
She even said, I'll be cast the villain
Yeah.
when, and there's a character in Don Quixote named Marcella. And this man, and I immediately thought she's like Marcella and Don Quixote, where Marcella is pursued by this guy and she rejects him and he ends up dying and everybody at the funeral blames that Marcella, and really it's Marcella's, I mean, choice. It's her identity. So I kind of felt like George Sand is allowed to not want to be with Chopin if she doesn't want to be, right. I
Well,
mean, it's nobody's fault that he died, is what I'm saying. Like,
I just feel there to describe their relationship. I feel that there's one-sided love. She probably was the one that was interested in him initially because he clearly didn't find her attractive. He found her in a way, I think, just unappealing, repelling.
So you're saying she pursued him
She
and
pursued him. She did everything for him. She gave everything. She took care of him.
he
And
still
in the
didn't
end,
really.
and he never I mean, I'm sure he was nice to her and was there for her, but he was never truly in love with her as much as she wanted. And that made her go angry with him and
And
find
what if
reasons
because
to
he was so sick, he just what if he kinda just gave up and just stayed with her? I mean, you never know.
well, we don't really know that. We can definitely have juicy speculations now. But
Right.
if I were to compare these two relationships with Mozart, there was a beautiful beginning. They both fell in love at the same time. It was a very strong, loving marriage and a very sad end, you know, because, one of them was left here without the other.
Mhm.
For If we take Chopin's relationship with just ended here, right?
Yeah.
Let me
So
finish.
George's relationship with Chopin was the last I heard.
Yeah, if we compare it with how Mozart's relationship was, George Sand and Chopin had a bad beginning to where he didn't even find her appealing at all, was not attracted to her. Then they had a very tumultuous, bad relationship in a way, I mean, with lack of love, a reciprocal love, at least for one of them. And
Mhm.
an even worse end. It ended really bad. It never got good. They were never friends after that. And
Yeah.
it's just such an unfortunate. We have this sunshine relationship and this really dark clouds, constant, just
Yeah.
rumors, and
I
all these
think
friends and all their friends circle, like list included, were just kind of circling around, just to know what to do, which we didn't
yeah.
want to take sides. We would just try. I mean, it was
I
just
know. And I mean, I do agree that men and women sometimes cannot be just friends, and you can't always be friends with an ex if it's complicated or if it was toxic in any way. Or, but the way it ended with the letter and then the difference between her explanation of it and his just tells you everything you need to know right there. They were just
exactly.
never on the
They
same.
were
They were never in
never
sync. They were
And
never
they were never in sync. They were not two pieces that made a whole. They might have
no.
been two beautiful pieces separately, but together they were just
Yeah.
not a
Yeah, and it
couple.
makes you really wonder, goodness, with both composers, makes you really wonder if Chopin was healthier and happier and maybe could have even gone back to his homeland, what he would have been like, you know? And then with Mozart, God, could you imagine if he lived longer? Everything he did in his short life.
Somebody said here, Mozart was a player. Really, he played the piano really well and other instruments. So in that regard, I agree with you. But no, he was not fooling around. He was a
Yeah.
very
Yeah, and
strict Catholic.
boundaries, that's a good point too with
He
the
might have been
boundaries need to be.
flirtatious, but he did not go beyond certain barriers.
Yeah.
It was more about how he talked and how he
Which I
flirted. But
think he proved with that with when he said that he would needed to marry Constanza, it went too far. He
yes,
wanted
don't
to.
don't forget, whoever was saying that he told his father that with Constanza he had to get married because he went too far with her.
Yeah.
So, and he was a very good husband to her, very true. They were very much in sync, very much in love. Whatever happened before that, I don't know. Maybe there was some singer in the theater because they're all running after him. I mean, I'm sure. But even with them, there's no evidence that he has ever crossed a line or offended anybody or got anybody pregnant or anything like that. So,
I'm
yeah.
reminded of that Fleetwood Mac song Dreams where players only love you when they're playing. I'm sure there's many musicians and composers that were players. They had many admirers and any kind of performer that is used to getting all this love and they can't
It would be
sometimes I
fun.
think the boundary part is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perfect because if you don't have someone in your life saying that's on stage in real life yeah, not so much, you know? Like, someone
Yeah.
has to humble you a little bit. I feel like everything I read about Constanza, he loved and respected her, and that
Did you know they had the breakup before they got married? And you know why?
I don't know
Because
why I didn't even read that.
very brief, Mozart didn't like that she didn't rebuffed someone paying her a compliment when they were together. She said nothing. I mean, if somebody gave her a cavalier, gave her a
And then they
compliment,
broke up?
and he was so upset. Why did you not tell him just to shut up or something? Say something bad. Why did you just giggled or something? And that was so serious for him, which shows how much of a player he was not. You know,
Oh,
if
yeah.
that was so serious for him that he almost, ended with her on that. So
Wow.
anyway, I think this is a very fascinating topic, and actually, I would like to see, maybe we can talk about next time, next conversation about real players,
Yeah,
composers that nobody knows, and I'm pretty sure we're going to run into some really good names that you
yeah.
wouldn't even expect them to be players.
Yeah,
And sometimes things are not always what they seem. We take people as something, but they may not be like that in
yeah.
reality.
Yeah, because I think of, like, Bach and how many kids he had with both of his wives, and then, you
These
think
were
of
very
Beethoven, who
busy.
didn't have children, so, um
I think none of them were players. I mean, these were very serious composers. Mozart died writing music. He didn't have time for anything. I mean, it was just, when would he play? Think about the composition, the treasure he left us. If he had been playing around, we would not have that. You know.
um, so tell us about Constanza after he died. What what did she do with the music that hadn't been published yet that she came across?
Well, she that's when she used finally her talent, her vocal talent. She basically organized. By the way, she remarried very quickly. I think she
She
married a
had kids.
Danish ambassador within a year, who was a fan of Mozart. Together, they wrote a biography of Mozart. She made sure that every piece that Mozart wrote was under strict copyright. She did some good contracts with publishers to publish Mozart's music. She organized concerts where she sang his music, and
Oh,
she
that's
covered.
special,
She
especially
paid.
after not being able to sing for so long and to her late husband.
She That's how she covered and all of his debts and
Wow.
Hey, how
So
about we just
she
wrap?
covered his debts by singing.
I was thinking maybe we should wrap it up because we're getting interrupted so many
Uh,
times. And even though I'm having such a great time.
I am too. This was a fun topic, Anna. I had a really nice time, and yeah,
Yeah.
we're already brainstorming our next one. So now that we got a lot of the bugs out of our system with this, I think
Oh, and by the way, everybody, please go check Kate Stanton's Sing uh,
oh,
YouTube channel. She is a very fantastic indie singer songwriter. I'm sure you'll be blown away by her talent.
thank you.
And actually, music and musings was her idea, because we would have these conversations about
Thank you,
music
Music
and
Cue.
very yeah, we would have these conversations about composers and classical music
And let's
and
be honest, as friends, we inspire each other, whether
oh
it's
yes.
just an encouraging word or oh, thank you. Anna inspires me because your ear, your trained ear, I just like I can never get enough. Like I have to ask you all these questions, I feel like.
I
Um
think you're also trained in a different way. See, you are giving me this freedom to break away from what I've been taught, because I was trained as a classical, pianist and theory, and I was in this world for 20 something years in Moldova, and then I came to study in the United States. And again, I just took music route, and I really am trained to hear music in a classical way. I listen to all the music through lenses of classicism, and music theory and rules of composition. And Kate is the one that has this free thinking and free will when it comes to music. She brings me that, she teaches me how to listen to music in a different way and how not to
I love it
scrutinize.
because we are yin and yang then, because I oftentimes will go to you and you'll be like, "Oh, that's a D flat," or I mean, I'm just like,
Or
I
you
just
remember when
love
we were
that part of
discussing
it.
that song, Nirvana, I mean, David Bowie's song,
Yeah,
The
we were
Man
talking
Who
about that
Sold
for
the
like
World.
20 minutes. I'm like, "Actually, it's not Nirvana, it's a David Bowie song." You're like, "What?" I could tell he's really trained at music, and I was like, I was talking to my
It
husband about that. I was like, Anna even dissected that song after listening to it one time, and she told me the bridge. She could really tell that David Bowie was classically trained or something. And he was, I mean, maybe not classical, but he played jazz saxophone and
Well, he
just a
probably had,
respected songwriter.
I mean, his refrain, at first I thought it was C major scale, da, 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 but it's actually a mixolydian mode he's using in there. And I'm like,
Oh,
this
wow.
guy knew about the modes. He must have been really well trained. So it's really interesting to dissect these songs in a classical way and see where it takes you. So maybe
Yeah.
we should do one of these. Maybe we
I think
should
we
next.
should, and I think it's important to share with your students and with your listeners that no matter where you are in your music journey, you can always learn, you can always grow.
You never
No, and don't let
truly
any music
own
snobs tell
music.
you differently.
No, never. You
Mm-mm.
never. It doesn't matter how much school you have. You can always learn more. You will never in your lifetime um, master the entire music theory, the entire music, whatever it is, history or whatever. There's always new things. And I mean, remember, music education, music theory, Western music, I mean, has been building for what? For thousands of years. So of course we're not going to do it in a lifetime, so that's why it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter which side you're coming from. You will still be learning.
That's right, and just look at us. We've spent over an hour just talking about composers and their wives or
Two of
partners,
them,
and
just two of them,
I
and we
know. We
still
could we
just
could literally talk, you and I could talk all night, so
I think we should end it here.
it's been such a pleasure.
It
Thank you
was
so
great.
much.
Thank you so much, Kate. Thank you. Have a nice evening and happy Valentine's, everyone.
Right. Same to you, and until next time.
Okay, bye bye.
Mwah.